Welcome to Track Talk Sports. I'm your host, Willie Jones. We would like to give fans and athletes a platform to share their sports experience. We have today our guest who's here to share her sports experience, Miss Jennifer Shalab. Hi,
Scab.
Jennifer. How
Scab.
are you? Sorry I
I'm
messed
doing
up your
good.
name.
That's okay, Willie. Most people do, and that's quite fine. I'm doing
Okay.
just great. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Another great
Good.
day.
Yes, it is, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, what we want to do today is we're going to, give you an opportunity to share your sports experience. I know you have a lot to talk about. I know, from the time you played basketball up until
Yes.
now, I know life's been like challenging. And,
Mm-hmm.
we as athletes, like myself, we love a challenge.
We
So we
do.
just we just pretty much go right on about life, just like we're playing sports.
That's right. That's
So I would like to just give you an opportunity to, share your story.
Thank you. So, would you like to hear a little bit of my background then, Willie?
Yes, give me a little bit of your
Okay.
background.
Yeah, sure. So, let's see. I was originally born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And I am the oldest of three children. Um, my parents and my mother and my stepfather, they moved around a little bit for my stepfather's job, and so I feel fortunate to have seen and lived in several different cities.
Uh-huh.
And so Greenville is a town compared to where I've lived before, and I've been here now for a little over 10 years.
Mm.
So um, that's basically my story of where I am and,
Oh,
and how I've grown up. I am a mother now of three great kids,
awesome.
and yes, and my oldest is getting ready to be 15, and then I'm blessed to have boy-girl twins
Oh,
who
wow.
are 12 years old.
Mm,
So life has been good to me.
that's great. That sounds great.
Hmm.
What are you looking forward to?
I guess what I'm most looking forward to, for myself is just changes. Just the everyday challenges and changes that come with life. Um, Sometimes I will be honest, the not knowing, the for certains can be can be challenging or make me feel a little anxious.
Uh-huh.
But then some of the characteristics and some of the story, or at least my story that we're going to be talking about today, I think that I've gained some skill sets to face those challenges. But
Mhm.
certainly, I'm just excited about um, just learning the new things that each day present.
Great. That
And
sounds great. That
hmm
sounds awesome.
yes,
I use awesome a lot because, everything, even in sports, it's like, that's all you hear. Oh man, that's awesome. You know, I
yes,
mean, so that's
yes.
a word I use quite often.
And that's fine. It's a very feeling laden word, right? When something's
Yes,
awesome, it's exciting.
exciting.
It's a
Yeah,
feel good. It's a feel good thing. So I'm right
absolutely.
there with you. Hmm.
What is the best things that has happened to you this year?
Oh my goodness! I think this year the best thing that's happened to me is, well, I think just some of the things going on in our world right now with having come out of that COVID, coming,
Yes.
well, I don't want to say coming out of, but we seem to be making more connection with one another again. And so I like that change. I'm excited about that. That's one of the best things that happened to me this year. Um, just me as a person, I'm a very people person.
Uh huh.
And so staying at home last year and social distancing and not doing some of the things that I was accustomed to doing
Right.
and the way that we
Yeah.
were doing, right? So to see that that's, I don't want to say that we can go back. I don't think we can ever really go back to
Hmm.
anything, but I like seeing how we're coming to a different place, how we're moving along, we're taking some of what we've learned, and how that's going to be how that can look now,
Hmm.
and maybe in the future. So I'm most excited about that, having that human connection
That
again,
is
and
great. Yeah.
having some of those things that you take for granted, I suppose,
Hmm.
when until they're taken away, and
Right.
then you're able to take kind of an inventory of all these wonderful talents and gifts and gifts really
Hmm.
of what you have.
Hmm.
Being able to go, my goodness, just being able to go to the grocery store and find toilet paper, Willie.
Right.
That's a gift, right? So you know, you know, I think
Absolutely.
I'm most excited about that right now.
Yeah.
Just
That's so.
coming out of that fog.
And
Yes.
that's something to
Yeah.
be excited about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
And who would have known toilet paper to be something to get excited about? But
right.
indeed,
We were stacking it up.
right. That's right. It's just those little things.
Right.
It's the little things that mean so much. And yeah, that's what I'm most excited about right now.
Well,
And that's
that's
the best thing that's happened in my life, going on right now.
yeah, and that's
Hmm.
something to be excited about. I feel the same way you feel about that.
Yes,
I do the same thing,
absolutely.
go in stores, and I was so used to putting on masks. Now I can have a little comfort and not, having to worry about it so much. But still, you want to, it's been more or less taught to us and told to us to wear our mask to protect others.
Sure.
So that's basically, the way we are, even in America, we care about people. We care about our people,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, what is your story? What is your story?
Oh my goodness. Where do we start? The day I was born, right?
Right.
what, what, yeah, what is my story? Um, my goodness. So I know, we're talking more about sports,
Uh-huh.
and so I think, to start that story, I think I shared with you, I'm the oldest of three
Hmm.
children.
Right.
Um, my mom was a single mom for some time when I
Hmm.
was growing up. She worked very, very hard for my brother and I. And when I say worked hard, not only outside of the home, but in our home. And when my mom was at work, pardon me,
Uh-huh.
my aunt who lived close by, my mom comes from a big family too, but my aunt who lived close by had three boys.
Hmm.
And so when my mom was working, my aunt would watch my brother and
Hmm.
I. And when my aunt worked, my mother would watch me, my brother, and my three boy cousins.
Uh-huh.
So, I grew up with boys, and
Okay.
I think that's an important place to start my story. So as I grew older, and when I got into third grade, um, I think that's when sports and being at school and sports being offered to me because of my age, being in the younger grades, school grades, sports weren't offered.
Hmm.
Certainly, and we didn't have the I'm not you know where I grew up, Willie, we didn't have a lot of club sports, right?
Uh-huh.
So I know things are looking different now. Our children have so many options for sports, and which is wonderful. It really is. But it was offered through our school. So in third grade, I remember me and my best friend, and I won't, if she's out there, I just want to give her a shout out to her, Megan Yost.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Megan.
Uh,
I'm sure that's not her name anymore. I'm sure she's married and has children of her own. However, she was my best friend. And at third grade, it was offered to us that we could try out for none other than the cheerleading team, right?
hmm.
Here I am, a girl in third grade. And, so I remember calling her the night before the tryouts, and I said, are you going to come? Are you going to do the sports, the
Uh-huh.
cheerleading? Yes, yes, she was going to come. Well, anyway, I go to the cheerleading tryouts the following day, and sure enough, Megan didn't show up. And I'm
Oh.
sitting there with my stepfather, and he said, well, I suppose you have a choice. Either you do the cheerleading or you do something else. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? I don't really want to do cheerleading. I want to play basketball.
Okay.
Well, lo and behold, at my school, we did not have a girls basketball team.
Okay.
So, in order for me to play ball, there was only one option, and that was to try out for the boys' team.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is wow.
Yes.
Mm.
So, guess what? I tried out for the boys' team, and I made it.
Oh man, that is exciting. That is great.
Yes.
That's
So
awesome.
my first experience then playing basketball was in third grade, and playing on the boys' team. And I will say that, yes, that was very exciting. I thought, this is cool. However, as you know, in most things, right, even those really awesome things
Uh-huh.
also present challenges,
Oh
right?
yes, yes. Mhm.
So, um, being on the boys' team, the boys in third grade, they didn't think that was so awesome,
I know they
and they
didn't. I
didn't
know
like,
they did.
yeah, right, and they didn't want to play with a girl, and but so that presented some challenges. But I will tell you, when we would travel to other schools and stuff like that, other parents just thought it was so great that here I was, the only girl in the league.
Mm,
And at the time, I attended a Catholic school in
mm,
Pittsburgh, so I was the only girl in the diocese
mm.
that played ball. And so who my biggest fans were, and I thought this is pretty cool. My biggest fans were the dads from the other teams. they, pardon me.
Uh-huh.
They thought it was great.
Mm.
And here was this girl who was basically, you know, um, playing with their sons, and would actually, encourage me to kind of rough them up a little bit.
Right.
Although that was never my goal, right? Um, but certainly, yeah. So I played on a all boys team, Willie,
Uh-huh.
from third grade up into seventh grade,
Wow.
and then in seventh grade, I actually moved.
Uh-huh.
Like I mentioned, that we moved for our dad. But the other thing I will say too is in seventh grade, mind you, seventh grade. Now we're talking about, you're starting to like the opposite sex, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're playing with guys that you're starting to find are kind of cute, but you're on the court and you're playing a game,
Right, right.
and it's certainly things where um, you had to change your way of thinking. But I didn't want to say this too. So our eighth grade boys team, when I was in seventh grade, needed more players, and I was considered a fairly good player,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to think, of course, it was part of my natural talents, and then the coaches that I had growing up. I was very blessed to be like on an AAU traveling team, and I was playing with boys all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it made me it helped grow me. Let's say that it helped
Right.
grow me into a certain type of player.
Mm-hmm. I'm
And
sure it
so in
did.
eighth grade,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So in eighth grade, I played on the eighth grade team too. I played up,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing against boys who basically were getting ready to go into high school. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I will say this, I think at first when the boys would see me coming on the court, it was, I'm sure that confused them, and they didn't really know how to treat me as
Uh-huh.
an individual or as a player.
Mm-hmm.
But they would soon know, I'm about, I certainly love to play the
Mm-hmm.
game. Don't get me, don't be confused, but I also am competitive,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted my team to win. So they had to figure that out fairly quickly,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't going out on the court expecting them to treat me any differently than any other player, except for the
Mm-hmm.
respect of what I was trying to do and the skills that I had.
Right.
So certainly as I got older, the boys were a little confused by that. But and then moving on, I played ball in high school. I was very fortunate. I was living out in Seattle at the time, Seattle, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I played on a very good high school basketball team. It just like all the stars aligned, but there were two high schools at the time that their enrollments were decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to combine both schools. Well, remember, we're in high school, right? And a lot of
Right.
these athletes too are preparing to go to college. And at the time when they combined those two schools, they had talents in both schools, and both schools separately always made it to the state playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're taking these two giant schools with all this natural talent. So I just showed up on the scene at the right time as these schools were combining.
Uh-huh.
And I was very fortunate to play with athletes who went on to play college ball,
Mm-hmm.
and one athlete in particular who went over to Europe and played a year over there. So, I again that just it strengthened me as a player,
I'm
obviously,
sure it did.
but it also strengthened some of my characteristics just of my personality,
Mm-hmm.
just who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we went to state every year in high school. So, and then in my junior year of high school, I was recognized by recruiters and scouting
Mm-hmm.
coaches who were scouting talent at the state basketball tournament, and I started getting offers to play ball at San Diego State, the University of Washington, and the University of Washington, their crew team
Uh-huh.
also, yeah, crew. I'm talking rowing, something completely different that you wouldn't think would have any kind of association with basketball. But I did have a recruiter who was recruiting me for the crew team too. So, and that's a whole nother story. I mean, we could certainly go on to that if you would like to. But I feel like I'm kind of taking over the conversation, Willie.
No, hey,
And so,
I'm enjoying. I mean, that's what the show is about. Sharing your
yeah,
sports experience, and
yes,
I mean, it's very
and
interesting. And I want to
yeah.
hear more.
Oh, there you go. So I would say then, well, then I, like I said, I was recruited for the crew team at the University of Washington, and I'll be honest, and so I played since third grade, and I started playing year-round ball with an AU team in fourth grade.
Hmm.
I played all the way up to high school. Once I got to high school, um, I there was something that I love ball.
Uh-huh.
I love
Well,
basketball,
like I
but I
do.
wanted to,
I love it.
yes, right. But I think too, I wanted to start doing something different. And when I saw that opportunity for the crew team, and I guess I had to back up a little bit too. So before I started my junior year, in my summer, the summer of my sophomore year, going into my junior year of high school, we were playing I was playing AAU. I was also playing with our high school team. We had a summer league team,
Uh-huh.
and that we would play all over Seattle. And again, it was just to hone in our skills, to work on our conditioning,
Hmm.
obviously to stay conditioned. Um, and some of the girls that we were playing in the summer league, obviously we would face off come the season in the fall. So there was this one team that was a really good team, and we usually did either see them in the playoffs or the state finals games
Hmm.
consistently every year. And like I said, it was just a group of very disciplined athletes,
Hmm.
but they just had this tenacity. These girls just had this tenacity, and then they had grown up all together,
Hmm.
playing together as a team. So they were a very well coached and just natural athletes. So they were very good, and we were playing them in the summer league, and I got injured during the game. And when I was going up for a rebound, and I was pulling the rebound down, I landed on a girl's foot and
Uh-huh.
pulled my ankle.
Twist your
And
ankle.
so, yeah, pardon me?
Twist your ankle.
Yes,
Uh,
but I ended up breaking it. I ended up getting a hairline fracture.
mm-hmm.
So I was out for the rest of the summer season. So going into my junior year, it took a lot to get prepared then again
Hmm.
to be able to compete at that on my high school team, because all those other players that summer went on for the conditioning, continued the summer ball program, and I was out 6 to 8 weeks because I not only sprained my ankle, I had a third degree sprain, but I also ended up getting a hairline fracture, a spiral fracture. So it took a little longer for me to heal that. But of course you do, right? And so we're talking about some of these challenges in life. We're trying to relate our basketball, or excuse me, our sports stories, and how that turns us, or how that helps, I don't want to say terms, but helps grow us into the individuals we are today, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, some of the things I've already mentioned, challenges. And as you can see, Willie, I'm a white female.
Uh
There's no hiding that.
huh.
But and I think we have this perception that you know um, because somebody's such, or because they're so, that somehow their life or their experiences are better than ours,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think one thing I'd like to say in my story is that regardless of how you grow up, or the culture that you're in, or your ethnicity that you are, the race of person you are, I think more important is collectively we are human beings, right?
Right.
And it's just the human experience that we're here, in my opinion. I know everybody has their own opinion, but since I'm the guest speaker today, I'm going to share with you my opinion,
Yeah.
and that is I think we're here on this earth to learn, you
Yes.
know. And so, regardless of, like I said, all those factors of what makes up an individual, I think what we, what I like to focus on more is that human experience. We're all human beings, and if we could, if I like to focus on that, and I think if, as a collective, if we could focus on that, we could actually learn that we have actually a lot of similarities, more similarities than we do differences. And so spraining my ankle, and it kind of put that thing on pause. I had that opportunity, although I was young. You know, how I saw my junior year going, and where I wanted to go with basketball,
Uh huh.
and it just made me kind of have that moment to step back and say, wait, where am I going, and how is this, is this all I want to be able to experience, or here comes another opportunity, do I want to try something else,
Mm-hmm.
you know and you know I didn't get a lot of support from my parents to go
Mm-hmm.
a different route, and certainly my friends, I think, were maybe not disappointed, but certainly maybe confused,
Right.
because I thought, you know what, I, I'm an athlete, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to get locked into just being a basketball player.
Right.
So I end up going into crew. And the great cool thing about crew is this. I, I joined the crew team, and I was actually the first athlete ever
Wow.
in that program to receive an athletic scholarship.
Mm.
But let me tell you why. And that's because up to that point, again, like all the stars aligned, right? Up to that point, the crew team at the University of Washington in Seattle was seen as a club sport. It was not identified as an athletic varsity sport.
Right.
And therefore, it could not get funding to offer NCAA athletic scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And the year that I came in, I was the program's first athlete that they chose to to um, receive that scholarship.
That's
I,
amazing.
I know, right?
That's
And
amazing.
so there's another great example. I think some people say, I know, I love Oprah Winfrey, right? I know
Mm.
everybody has their own opinions, but one thing I like that Oprah Winfrey says, and I believe she says she does not believe in luck,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I'd say I don't believe in luck either.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, first of all, that we're given time and we're given opportunities.
Yes.
And it's not that time affords us anything, it's
Mm-hmm.
what we do with that time,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a great believer and proponent in that. And I think there's another example that, here was an opportunity, I got another route, and I received something that was really special. And even that year, doing, here I am, a novice meaning not only am I a freshman in the academic sense, but I'm now trying a sport I've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
and I remember asking them, like, this is like you say, Willie, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, right? But then there was that like that voice in the background. But why me? How
Right.
does basketball, right,
Yeah,
translate into
I have those moments too. Why
do
me?
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, how, but not in a negative connotation,
Right.
right? Because a lot of times, believe me, what did I say? We're human first. So,
Right.
although I might have this awesome story to share with you, at the same time, there's been plenty of times where I look up and say, "Oh God, why me?"
Uh-huh.
But so I remember asking specifically my coach once I got onto the team and I was working out and we were conditioning, and I asked, what did you see in me? I just wanted to see from your eyes what you saw and how you thought those skills might of basketball,
Hmm.
you know, um, be applicable to rowing in a boat. And you know what they were looking for, Willie?
What is that?
They were looking for strong legs. So here, my big thick tree trunk legs
Right. You
that,
provided
you know,
them with strong
maybe
legs.
the right there you go. That maybe the Charles Barkley of basketball that might have, but were also the deterrent of why I found a prom date.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, here there, here's my legs getting me into another situation, into the crew. So that's what they saw. They saw, some of the first of all my physical
Right.
uh,
Hmm.
body,
Hmm.
but more important, it was the tenacity that I had.
Uh-huh.
It was the rebounding skills that they
Yeah.
saw at the state championship. That even if we were down a couple points, obviously I told you I want to give the credit to my team too.
Hmm.
I was always very fortunate to play on really good teams,
Yeah.
but they 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 honed in that individual skill that I had, and so I guess that's another point to say, right? We're trying to relate basketball and to sports
Uh-huh.
and life,
Hmm.
and I think, one of the challenges I think female athletes and just as women in general
Hmm.
in our American culture, I can't speak for the rest, for all of the world,
Right.
is, that as women in our culture kind of gets, we're so hard on ourselves as women for our physique,
Hmm.
the way we look.
Right.
Um, there's this belief that's in our head that's reinforced by, magazines and movies
Hmm.
that in order to be considered a strong or attractive female, we have to have a certain body type. We have
Hmm.
to look a certain
Hmm.
way. And as I mentioned, my my body type, I guess I would describe my body type is athletic.
Hmm.
So I was never the petite female
Uh-huh.
and had these real graceful or petite uh, stature
Hmm.
about me at all. In fact, a lot of times my legs and my arms were bigger than some of the boys.
Uh-huh.
So so I think to actually be in a sport too like crew where you know a body part of mine, which were my legs, and growing up, I always felt like they were too big,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And here's this coach and this athletic experience and this team that's saying, no, we love your legs. Your legs are strong. Your
Right.
legs are powerful.
Right.
And I think that's something that sports taught me too,
Hmm. Hmm.
Certainly playing with the boys taught me. I mean, my goodness, playing with the boys. Let's talk about that, right?
Hmm.
Playing with the boys just taught me, like I told you, they didn't go easy on me just because I was a girl. So I had to learn very quickly that, you know, it was about the game and
Uh-huh.
not to take things personal,
Hmm.
right? And some of the boys I played on the court against as competitors, they were the nicest people off the court. So it was kind of nice to see that even in one human being, that we're multifaceted and we're there's so many different things that make us up. And
Hmm.
so, I think that's what the boys taught me, and that it was about tenacity. It was about getting up off the floor and trying again. It wasn't about missing the shot and ooh,
Right.
maybe those peers telling you that oh
Right.
no, I missed a shot. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to take that shot.
Hmm.
I'm too afraid to get off the floor. I want to get off the game.
Hmm.
No, it was I got this. So and it's obviously something that I've been able to take with me,
Yeah, yeah.
moving forward in my
Hmm.
life, because
Hmm.
in the moment, you don't see anything else other than basketball and playing sports, and
Yeah.
you're looking at your friends and you're thinking, this timestamp is forever.
Hmm.
You look at your parents and they're always going to stay in that age. You're never getting out of the house.
Hmm. Yeah.
Whatever the reason, we just feel like in those moments that time stands still. And now being an older adult, like I told you, I have three children of my own. Um, my goodness, some of the skills that and some of the learning opportunities, some of the things that I've learned playing sports
Hmm.
has helped me, I think, be not only a better human being,
Yeah.
but certainly a better parent.
And
Now
that's
I have
yeah.
the,
And that's
you know,
what the show is, Track Talk Sports is all about. You
hmm
know, there's a lot of athletes out there and they've had that experience lives with them.
right,
They support sports no matter what, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, tennis, golf.
hmm
It's just that drive, you know, that they
right,
have in them. I don't care whether they playing or not. They're
hmm
going to put that same drive at whatever else that they do,
right.
you
You're
know.
right,
And that's
for
the
sure.
thing I love about, what we're doing is just to hear, other stories, why they are where they are. It's
Right,
because of their parents and how their parents supported them and then what they went after.
right,
They went after, you know, or they were taught these things from a coach
right.
and the coach saw, just like you were saying earlier, the coach saw that they had it in them, and they
hmm
a coach is going to pull it out of you. That's if it's a good coach.
Right, you're right. And let's talk about coaches, right?
Right.
we're all we all share a lot of similarities, but we're all very different.
Hmm.
But you make a good point there too, Willie, when you said I want to maybe expand on that a little bit. Is you mentioned having a support team,
Hmm.
and my parents were supportive of sports,
Hmm.
and I think even if you don't have supportive parents, right? Because I know there's a lot of kids out there that either are listening right now, or maybe somebody will tell them about the show, and that's a point I hope to be able to make is
Hmm.
that I think it's important that you have support
Right.
somewhere, and I think if we're very as kids, as young adults, and as children, sometimes it's hard to see where those support systems come from
Right.
because certainly we hope, we pray, and
Hmm.
it would be nice to receive it from our parents. But I will say that sometimes it just takes that one mentor, whether it be a coach or a teacher
Hmm.
or goodness gracious, sometimes even your best friend's parents.
Hmm.
Somebody to bring out the individual that you're meant to be, right? Or
Right.
at least give you an opportunity to learn and be in situations where you can learn
Hmm.
um, to be your best self. And I want to be, I want to be careful when I say your best self. Sometimes, I'd like to tell your listeners
Hmm.
that, simply being, just simply being yourself, first and foremost, is enough. You know, whether you're called to be an athlete, whether you're called to be an engineer, whether you're called to be, a restaurant manager, everybody, every human life has value,
Yes.
and every human being, and certainly we're talking sports here, but I think the one the worst thing we could do to each other and to ourselves, more importantly, is
Hmm.
compare ourselves to other people, and jealousy is an ugly feeling
Hmm.
because it compares your life to somebody else's, and if you stay there and you're constantly comparing yourself to what other people have or what you have or what they don't
Right.
have, and who they are and who you're not and all these things, you actually do yourself an injustice because you in yourself, the individual that you are,
Hmm.
is a miracle, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you my story and what helped me get to be the adult I am. And I certainly pay a lot of homage to my coaches and
Mm-hmm.
the sports that I played.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that your listeners, and certainly your young listeners who are listening today,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't have the support system of their parents, yes, coaches and teachers and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
friends' parents, and sometimes you get that really wise friend.
Yeah.
Um, it's more important to be, in my opinion, the person you're called to be, and know that there is a support system out there
Mm-hmm.
that you might not just have found that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And but yes, I think it to persevere
Mm-hmm.
and to try every day, and not try to be somebody that somebody tells you to be,
Right.
but
Right.
really look inside of yourself and say, who am I, and what, and to get jazzed up
Mm-hmm.
about the day
Mm-hmm.
and looking at it as an opportunity to learn new things.
Yeah. Looking for a challenge.
Yes.
You know.
And to see it, I think the word challenge sometimes scares people.
Mm-hmm.
And really, a challenge is, you know, it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Challenges are going to present
Oh
yourself in
yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
And, and we don't always have control of the challenge,
Mm-hmm.
but we certainly have control over how we show up,
Mm-hmm. How we approach it.
how we approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we see somebody struggling, I certainly hope that somebody takes the time just to support them. Nobody can do the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that sports teaches you too, right?
Right.
We're talking about basketball games and crew races and things like this too, Willie. But let's be honest, um, how much preparation goes into before you even step on that court
Mm-hmm.
or before you even get in that boat,
Oh,
and
I,
that's
I,
really.
I do want to know how can I be the most helpful to you?
Oh yeah, the most helpful to me. Well, I'll tell you right now. I think you're being the most helpful, Willie. You're getting stories out. You're talking to not just for me,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that this is your sports program, Trax Talk Sports. I think it's very important to reach other people for a couple things, because your story, like I said, we all share similarities, right,
Right.
or challenges,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully, as you talk to more athletes, the real thing to get jazzed about, or what's awesome about the stories, are the challenges that, not just the challenges that they face, but how they face those
Mm-hmm.
challenges, right?
Right.
So, as a human collective, we all face challenges. I
Yes.
think what really separates us apart, as far as the individuals that we are, is how the individual meets those challenges, how they show up,
Mm-hmm.
how they perceive them and move through them. And I think those are the real heroes,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
you know?
Mm. Who is your favorite hero? Sports hero.
Sports hero?
Who's your favorite sports hero?
Okay, now, I'm not making this up.
Uh-huh.
And I want you to ask me,
Mm-hmm.
all right? My favorite sports hero of all time is Charles Barkley.
Oh, Charles.
I love him. Absolutely love him.
Everybody, a lot of,
I,
so many people that love Charles.
Everybody, yeah, there's a lot of people that love him, that's
Yeah.
right. But you know what? There's a lot of people that maybe don't like him so much,
Right.
right? Well, let me tell you some great things about Charles Barkley. Number one, obviously the man had talent when he played.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I said, and when did he play? We're old enough we can talk about this, Willie.
Right.
But he played with Scottie Pippen
Yeah.
and Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Who could? And I'm not talking about the Michael Jordan that kids just wear on their T-shirts and shoes.
Right.
Like, this was a human being that played ball and
Right.
had a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
So Charles Barkley played with all this, and the Larry Birds. Let's not
Yeah.
forget Larry Bird.
Yeah.
People outside of the Bulls.
Yeah.
So anyway, Danny Ainge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a huge Celtics fan too.
Right.
So the point is, Charles Barkley had that tenacity that we've been talking about today.
Wow.
Charles Barkley, he did. He
Yeah.
led the league always in his defensive skills. And how many times have we heard our coaches tell us, it's not offense it's gonna win the game, it's the defense.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it's a little bit of both. But unless you can stop your opponent from scoring,
Right.
you're not going to win,
He
right? It doesn't
played.
matter how many
Yeah.
shots you make.
Yeah. He
And
played.
Charles Barkley, he just had that attitude, that drive that said, "This is my ball.
He
This is
did.
my court."
He
And
did.
even if he was playing it in your court,
Yeah.
it was still his.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I love this man, and he just had a great sense of humor about it. But it
Yeah.
was that tenacity. He didn't have to showboat it.
Hmm.
He just that's I mean that he played with that
Yeah, he
attitude.
did.
It's my ball,
Hmm.
it's my court, and I don't care if I'm at home or
Hmm.
if I'm playing away and I'm playing at your court. Those two rules still apply. It's
Hmm.
mine,
Hmm.
and I just love that.
Yeah, he played
What's
with one of my favorites, uh,
what's who's that?
Dr. J.
Oh my God! Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Somebody else, but who had that
Yeah.
grace, right?
Yeah. He
Oh
played
my God!
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, him, Dr.
Oh,
J.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's to watch them play. It just
When they play,
energized
yeah.
me. You know.
Well, when they let's be honest, and that's funny that you well, not funny, but when you bring up those tall, long, lean athletes, right?
Yeah.
Um, that you're talking about, like Dr. J and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they played that game with such grace. It was almost watching them play ball was like almost watching a dance, right?
I don't
They
want
just
I don't want to take your time. you know.
no, I
But
like talking to you. I think it
I,
can only be a conversation if
yeah,
we're
because
interacting. Do
I
you
mean,
agree?
I grew up.
What do you like?
I grew up.
What do you like about them? Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
I grew up in New York, in Harlem,
Okay.
and I used to go down to the Rucker Park, and I would see Dr. J. You know, yeah, at the
Wow.
park, at the Rucker Park, playing basketball, and I mean, it was just so uh, um, like personal. This that personal experience, just to be that close to him and watching him. I mean, everything they said about him, you know, is
He
is
was.
is true. I mean, we had kids who hung off. I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We hung off trees. We had no. It was no sitting room when he came to that park.
Right.
And one day when he did that dunk from the foul line, that next summer he came to the park and he got a fast break, and everybody stood up because they thought he was gonna. Well, I
Yeah.
gave it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
they,
Right. No.
they
No.
thought he jumped from the foul line and he caught the ball back and he finger rolled it in. He didn't dunk it. It's like, look, it's like you
Yeah.
got to pay to see that.
There you. That's right. There you go. And
But I mean, it's sorry to cut you off, but
no, no.
it
Like
was,
I said, I think that's great. That's
yeah,
what a talk show is about. The
yeah.
interact. And you. There you go. So not only do you say that, you mentioned a couple great things there.
Hmm.
It is like a dance.
Yeah,
The basketball. Not only is it teaching you the tenacity, but you have to have poise. You have to
yeah,
have grace.
yeah,
And some of the two players that you mentioned, Dr. J and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they definitely had that. They
yeah,
had that poise, that grace. When to be explosive, when to go up strong,
yeah,
when to be soft, when to pull
hmm,
back. It's that dance,
yeah.
right? And so I agree with you. And to go back into a park like setting,
Hmm.
what a great role
Oh
model
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
everybody that was around to
yeah.
say,
They kept us off the streets. I mean, drugs.
sure.
I mean, we right there in Harlem. We right there by the Yankee Stadium, the Polo Grounds. These are baseball
Mm-hmm.
grounds. Where I just lived 3 blocks. From those parks. The Polo Grounds, the Yankee Stadium right across the bridge, the Rucker Park
Right.
right there. So I'm in this high environment where drugs and everything was going on, and
Right.
them coming to that park kept us off the streets. It kept
Yes.
us in our park trying to emulate them, trying to mimic their moves and become great, just
Mm-hmm.
like they were, or they
Right.
are, for the ones who are still here. So you
Sure.
got Pee Wee Kirkland, you got Joe Hammond, you got Manny
Yeah.
Goat, you got uh, uh, um, Nate Archibald, all these legends who used to come to that park. You got Kobe Bryant,
Hey, there you
you got
go. Yeah.
all these guys. They went down there to, you know, it's you become a legend on that at that park. Everybody knows you. You got
Yeah.
Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant played down there.
There you go.
I mean, it's just and that's what I say about telling your story. There's so many people
Right.
got so many things going on in their life that's happened in their lives that were positive that they don't get a chance to tell about it.
Right.
So that's what we're here. We're here so that they can come and
Share
share,
that.
their
Right.
experience.
Sure. Because that goes back to what we just said too.
Hmm.
We're here. It's a human experience, and everybody's it's how we show up to those challenges. But I love that. I love that story because although that's not an area that I grew up in,
Hmm.
just because we all face challenges.
Hmm.
So even if you weren't to go play basketball, Willie,
Hmm.
those role models showing up like that
Yeah.
to show, regardless of my circumstances, right?
Right.
Regardless of where I am,
Hmm.
I have a choice
Hmm.
of where I want to go,
Right.
who I want to be.
Hmm.
So I can make a choice. I can let the system and all these people tell me who I am,
Hmm.
where I'm supposed to stay, where my place is,
Right.
or I can decide for myself
Hmm.
who I am and who I want to be, and move in that direction. So I love that story. Thank you
Um,
for sharing. I think that's great. And
yeah.
like you said, you named
What are
some
three
really
reasons you like
athletes.
being part of a team?
Well, three reasons I like to be part of the team. Okay, well, number one, let's be blatantly honest, right? Everybody likes to belong, right?
Hmm.
But so I would say number one, that I belong to a group,
Right.
that I belonged to a group that was positive,
Right.
right? That was showing me, sending me. And I think the third one would be because, I mean, I wanted to be part of the group. I was part of the group, and the skills that I learned. I would say those are the three things that were most important to me.
And even with that question,
Yeah,
um, to teach and learn, you know, it gives you an opportunity, as you with that group, because
right.
they look at you, they're watching you, and you're watching them. So it's just a
Mm-hmm.
process, teaching
Sure.
and learning, and that's how we grow. You,
Yeah, you're
you know.
absolutely right.
Um, what is the best part about competing?
Mm. I think the best part about competing is it's a lot of that learning piece that you just mentioned.
Hmm.
We've talked about already the competition itself, the game, competing.
Hmm.
You use that word competition.
Right.
So we're talking games,
Right.
right? And those are a lot of fun, but why are they fun?
Hmm.
It's because you're taking all those skills, all that preparation that people don't see, right? And you're putting it in a certain space and a certain time to see how much you've grown,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So yes, and here taking this sports and relating it to life, because I think that's what, at least talking to me today, Willie. I hope that it shows. Taking these skills from when I was younger and now applying it to as I was older.
Hmm.
You know, challenges. How many times
Yeah.
we talked about challenges, and certainly, we're
Hmm.
interviewing this on what, July of 2021. We just went through a really crazy past year and a half, so
Yes, we
we
do.
faced a lot of
Yeah.
challenges and a lot of serious challenges.
Yeah.
So I'd like to I'd like to just make that connection again.
Hmm.
What did I like most about the competitions, arriving up on game day, is really seeing where my skills were
Hmm.
that I had been practicing and working on
Hmm.
all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like that check and balance. And
Hmm.
so if we could kind of present, face challenges like that in our life,
Hmm.
okay, instead of projecting and wanting other situations or other people to change, you can't go on a basketball court and say, well, I want my competitor to shoot less
Right.
and rebound less and let me do those things more. No, you have to earn that. You
Yeah.
have to learn those,
Yes, you
earn
do.
those opportunities
Yes, you
on the
do.
court.
Hmm.
And a lot of that is honing those skills when you practice and you're physically training your body
Hmm.
outside of the team too, right?
Hmm.
Because what do we have to do? We have to eat healthy, We have to take good care of ourselves. We have to, you know, uh, train our bodies
Mhm.
cardiovascularly. You know, nobody needs to run with you, Willie.
Mhm.
So there, I was running on Saturdays and running sprints on my own. I
Right.
didn't have my team there. You know, a lot of it is that individual responsibility.
Mhm.
You have a goal. This is what I want to do. What is my own individual responsibility, and then my obligation and responsibility to my team.
Mhm.
So that's what I liked about competing. I could see where I needed to work on
Right.
as an individual, and then obviously my coach was looking, and we knew as a team what are the skills, so
Mhm.
that when we came to the next competition, when we came to the next challenge, we were better prepared. We learned,
Right.
and we were able to take it. So that's what I liked about competing.
Yeah, and I mean, just like you mentioned, working out, practicing. I did that constantly. You know,
Right, and on your own, right?
yes,
You
yes,
weren't with your
yes.
team all the time.
I
You did
would,
that on your own.
I would hear, sometime when you play, you hear that sideline noise. Oh man, you can't play. You think you good.
Yes,
Things like that. You might hear that, and it kind of triggers you to like, what? Did I really hear that? You know, and you
right,
go out and you actually go to work and getting better
right,
because you don't want
right,
to hear that.
right.
I
And
don't
you know
care
what?
how good you get. It's just
Right,
like, bam, you keep getting hit with it. That's
right.
guys in the NBA right now. They get hit all the time with, you know, keeping up with their statistics and things like that, mentioning them, during the day on different shows. And these guys have worked hard to get to
Hmm.
the NBA,
Yes.
and still they have to work hard to stay in the
Still have to
NBA.
work. That's
It's a
right.
lot of work. It's work all the time. You
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
what emotions do you feel when you play well?
Oh, when I played well. Well, first, you mentioned like people giving you feedback, right?
Hmm.
So of course, the person, because we were, as you know, although you hear that talk from the stands and that noise actually helps with the adrenaline and getting
Yeah,
you excited.
yeah.
We were trained. I was trained hard.
Hmm.
That the only voice I could really hear was my coach. So all that, although I could hear the fanfare,
Right.
I couldn't tell you what they were saying because
Hmm.
we were so,
Focus.
trained. You just listen to me, and you have to, especially in a sport like basketball where you're indoors, it gets loud. You really have to, train your ear. I'm
Hmm.
just listening to. So how did I feel? Of course, when I received positive feedback from my coach, that made me feel great.
Yeah.
And I think that, as human beings, we want that anyway. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
because it was more than, um, you know, like you said, there's so much preparation that goes into
Hmm.
sports that people don't see, and athletes know, and a lot of it we do on our own. We
Hmm.
really do. Certainly, we come together with our team. So, of course, I felt great. And of course, I felt wonderful because it was reinforcement that the steps that I had been taking were working, right?
Hmm.
That they're working. So, if you want to continue the same behaviors and you receive positive feedback, you're going to continue with those same behaviors or
Hmm.
those same skills, that same drive, whatever you've been doing to prepare so that you can get that again.
Hmm.
But I will say, as just as important of, the positive emotions that I would feel, how I'd feel when I played well. I also, you also learn this as an athlete too. Um, those times where you're not playing so well,
Right.
right? And you receive that constructive criticism. I think, you know, if I had now that I'm so wise, Willie,
Mhm.
I would say it was actually those constructive criticisms that I received from my coach
Yes.
that actually made me a better
Yes,
player,
it
right?
does. Hmm.
Because we there's no growth, there's no change, there's no growth without a challenge,
Hmm.
without some kind of I don't want to even say negative feedback, but constructive, right?
Hmm.
Constructive criticism. You need to work on this. You need to work on that, and those are the feedback that really makes us a stronger player. But certainly when I played well, oh my gosh, who wouldn't love that? And
Right.
who didn't love competitions? I think that's what makes an athlete too. Is not only do we have that personal and individual responsibility, we like that.
Yes.
We want it to be uh, prepared for those competitive days,
Mhm.
those competition days, for those challenges,
Mhm.
and so we like that. You know, we don't take constructive criticism as, "Oh no, I'm gonna cry in the gutter." We take it as, "You're right. I'm gonna
Right.
work on that because
Yeah.
next Saturday when I show up,
Mhm.
that's not going to be an issue. I'm springboarding this up.
Mhm.
I'm growing from where I am now.
Mhm.
It's a constant building on. So, yeah, I love playing well, but I got to a point where I like constructive criticism too. I welcome that just as much as those days where I played well, because I knew it was only going to make me a better player come the following week. You
Right.
know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a few minutes to thank some people that's kind of worked behind the scene. One was Jennifer. She helped us. She's with Signs Now. And our backdrop back here, was made by Signs Now in Greenville. Also, one of our sponsors, Track Talk Sports, is Trax. And these are some of our gear. So if ever see us on your social network sites, you'll know what you're seeing now. Track Talk Sports Tracks. Well, Jennifer, it's been a pleasure, having you on our
Well,
show.
yeah, thank you
Um,
so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking with you.
well, I mean, it's been exciting, uh, and I would like to say this is our first show, and
Hey!
yes, so
So
you
the
can
stars
mark.
have once aligned, Willie? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I'm another first?
Yes.
See? That's fantastic. Well, I feel even more honored.
Yes,
Thank you for having me
and
as
we
your
can mark it
as your
on
first
our
guest.
calendars when
Great.
when Track Talk Sports had its first show.
There you go. Well, thank you. That is quite an honor. I appreciate you letting me be your first guest.
And for all of you who want to just give us a thumbs up, just let us know, and we'll be looking for your thumbs up. And any questions you might have, feel free to ask any questions that you feel like you might have, or you will get back a response from us. So with that, thank you for joining our show.